Stop scrolling right now and stay with this until the very end, because what you are about to witness is not just a live stream gone wrong. It is the exact moment everything spiraled out of control in real time, and when Miles Wei suddenly interrupted Shen Yue during her broadcast to address the rumors surrounding Dylan Wang. No one watching was prepared for how quickly calm would turn into something far more intense, something that felt unscripted, unpredictable, and impossible to ignore. The stream started like any other. Warm, relaxed. Shen Yue sat comfortably, smiling softly as comments flooded the screen. Fans were sending messages faster than they could be read. Hearts, questions, support, everything felt controlled. Familiar. Safe. She answered lightly, laughing at small jokes, responding to harmless questions, keeping everything within the boundaries of what a public moment is supposed to be. But something was different beneath the surface. Not visible, not obvious, just a slight shift in energy, the kind that only becomes clear after everything changes. And then it happened. A sudden interruption. Not announced, not expected. Miles Wei appeared, not as a planned guest, not as a casual surprise, but as something entirely different, something that carried urgency. The chat exploded instantly, messages moving faster, reactions multiplying, confusion spreading across the screen, because this was not part of the plan, and everyone could feel it. Shen Yue froze for just a second, not long, but enough. Enough to reveal that this moment had not been prepared. Her expression shifted slightly, still composed, but more focused, more alert, because when something unexpected enters a controlled space, everything changes. Miles Wei did not ease into the moment. He did not laugh. He did not soften his presence. He went straight to the point, direct, clear, unfiltered. He began speaking about the rumors. The ones that had been quietly building. The ones that had been mentioned, but never fully addressed. The ones tied to Dylan Wang. And the moment those words entered the conversation, the atmosphere shifted completely. This was no longer a casual stream. This was something else. Something heavier. Something real. He said the whispers were affecting him. Not in a vague way. Not in a distant way. But directly. Personally. He spoke about reputation. About how narratives that are left unanswered begin to take shape on their own, and how those narratives were now pulling him into something he did not create. The chat became chaotic. Some viewers tried to understand. Others reacted emotionally. Some demanded answers. Some defended. But no one looked away, because this was the kind of moment people wait for without knowing they are waiting for it. Shen Yue listened, carefully, not interrupting. Not reacting immediately, because she understood the weight of what was happening. This was no longer about entertainment. This was about truth, or at least the attempt to reach it. Miles Wei demanded transparency, not aggressively, but firmly. He made it clear that silence was no longer an option, that avoiding the topic had allowed it to grow into something bigger than it should have been, and now it needed to be addressed, fully, clearly. Without hesitation. The tension reached its peak, not through shouting, but through stillness, because sometimes stillness carries more intensity than any raised voice. Shen Yue took a breath, a slow one, not to delay, but to prepare, because responding in a moment like this is not simple. Every word matters. Every pause is noticed. Every expression is interpreted. And once something is said, it cannot be taken back. She began to speak, carefully, at first, acknowledging the situation, recognizing the impact, but not rushing into conclusions, because truth is rarely something that fits neatly into a single statement. Miles Wei did not interrupt. He allowed her to speak, but his presence remained strong, unmoving, as if he was making it clear that this moment would not be redirected, that it would not fade into something lighter. The conversation unfolded slowly, not revealing everything, but revealing enough. Enough to confirm that what had been happening behind the scenes was more complicated than anyone outside could fully understand. Enough to show that the rumors were not just stories. They were interpretations of something real, something that had been misunderstood, something that had been left unaddressed for too long. And that is what made this moment so powerful. It was not about proving one side right. It was about breaking the silence that had allowed everything to grow unchecked. The stream continued, but it no longer felt like a performance. It felt like a moment of exposure. Not complete, but significant. The viewers could feel it. The shift. The difference. The reality behind what they were watching. And when the conversation finally slowed, when the intensity began to settle, something had changed. Not resolved, not finalized, but changed. The kind of change that cannot be undone. The kind that follows everyone involved long after the moment ends. Miles Wei stepped back, not dramatically, but enough to signal that he had said what needed to be said. Shen Yue remained composed, but different, as if the weight of the moment had settled into her presence. The stream eventually returned to calm, but it was not the same calm as before. It was quieter, heavier, filled with the understanding that something real had just taken place. So this story does not end with that interruption. It does not end with the answers that were given. It ends with something more powerful. A moment where silence was broken, where questions were finally brought into the open, where the narrative shifted from speculation to confrontation. And now the only question that remains is this. When truth is forced into the open in front of everyone watching, does it bring clarity? Or does it reveal that the story is far more complicated than anyone ever imagined? If you felt the intensity of this moment and want to see what happens next, make sure you subscribe, like this video, and share it with someone who needs to see how everything unfolded, because the next chapter might reveal even more than what was said tonight. The moment the tension settled just enough for people to breathe again, the real impact of what had just happened began to unfold. And if you stay with this until the very end, you're going to understand why that single interruption from Miles Wei did not just shake Shen Yue in that moment. It triggered something far bigger that would pull Dylan Wang into a situation no one could control anymore. The stream continued, but not in the way it started. The energy was different, heavier, more focused. Every word now carried weight. Every pause felt intentional. Because once something real enters a space like that, nothing goes back to being casual. Shen Yue adjusted slightly, not to regain control, but to stay grounded. Her composure remained, but there was a new awareness in her expression, as if she knew this moment would not end when the live ended. Miles Wei did not leave immediately. He stayed, not to dominate the conversation, but to make sure it did not drift back into something superficial. He spoke again, this time slower, more deliberate. He made it clear that what he was addressing was not just rumor. It was something that had grown because no one had fully spoken about it. And that silence had consequences. The chat exploded again. Viewers asking questions, trying to piece together what was happening, trying to understand the layers behind what was being said. But the answers were not simple. They could not be, because real situations rarely fit into clear explanations. Shen Yue responded, not defensively, not emotionally, but carefully. She acknowledged the situation, the misunderstandings, the way things had been interpreted, but she did not rush to define everything. And that restraint spoke volumes, because it showed that the truth was not something that could be explained in one moment. It needed time, context, understanding. Miles Wei listened, and for the first time since he appeared, his intensity softened slightly, not disappearing, but shifting, as if he recognized that forcing everything out at once would not lead to clarity. It would only create more confusion, and that realization changed the direction of the moment. The confrontation turned into something else, a conversation, still tense, still unresolved, but more controlled. More focused on understanding rather than exposing. The viewers could feel it, the shift, the balance between pressure and restraint. And that balance made the moment even more powerful, because it showed that this was not just about conflict. It was about something deeper, something that affected everyone involved. Backhand index pointing right. If this moment is already pulling you in and you want to see how far this story goes, Make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who needs to witness how everything unfolds, because what happens next might change everything even more. The stream slowly moved toward its end. Not abruptly, not dramatically, but naturally. As if everyone understood that what had been said was enough for now. Miles Wei stepped back, not as a retreat, but as a pause. A decision to let the moment settle rather than push it further. Shen Yue remained composed, but different, stronger in a way that comes from facing something unexpected and not breaking under it. And then the stream ended. The screen went dark, but the story did not. Because outside that moment everything began to expand. Clips spread. Discussions started. People choosing sides. Analyzing every detail. Every word. Every expression. And suddenly what happened in that live became something much bigger. Dylan Wang's name moved through the conversation. Not directly, but inevitably. Because once a situation like that unfolds, no one connected to it remains untouched. The final realization did not come from anything said during the stream. It came from what followed. The understanding that silence had been broken. That something once avoided had been brought into the open. Not completely, but enough. Enough to change perception. Enough to create tension that could not be ignored. So this story does not end with that interruption. It does not end with the stream cutting off. It ends with something more powerful. A moment that forced everything into the light. A conversation that can no longer be avoided. A shift that will continue to unfold beyond what anyone can currently see. And now the only question that remains is this. When truth is pushed into the open in front of everyone watching, does it lead to clarity? Or does it reveal that the story is far more complicated than anyone is ready to face? If you felt the intensity of this moment and want to stay ahead of what happens next, subscribe right now, like this video, and share it with someone who understands that real stories do not end in one moment. They evolve, and the next chapter might reveal even more than what we just witnessed.